Welcome back to This Week in Magic Online Finance. I'm your host, Chaz Andres, and as always, this week we're going to get started with the news. I wanted to start out by checking in on the price indexes for Modern and Standard. We're about 2 weeks removed from the crash now, and I wanted to see how things are going. Are prices continuing to rebound? Are they starting to drop again? This stuff is really worth knowing. Interestingly enough, both indexes have been almost completely flat over the past week and a half. It was like Standard and Modern tanked, rebounded a little bit, and then have been almost completely level since then. This is actually fairly normal Magic Online behavior for the week before Christmas, but I expected things to be a little bit different after all that arena panic. Turns out it's just now the normal holiday lull again. What this tells me is that all the people who were going to sell out of MTGO probably already have sold out of MTGO. So I don't see another shock to the market coming, at least not immediately, and at least not without another major piece of news. At the same time, we're definitely going to have to wait until the new year to find out if any sort of rebound is imminent. People just aren't playing much Magic Online right now, or if they are, they're playing Vintage Cube. Everybody else is out enjoying the holidays. Let's move on now to Gaining Ground, where in Standard we had a repeat winner this week in Ral Izzet Viceroy. Now, last week I predicted that Ral would end up above 10 tickets sooner rather than later, and that happened this week. It gained about 3 tickets from 8 up to 11, and I strongly suspect that Ral is on its way up to the 15 ticket mark by the new year. Of course, its price tag after that is going to depend mostly on what happens in Standard and what sorts of cards are in Ravnica Allegiance. If, say, Control moves away from blue and red as a base pair, then Ral's days as an expensive card are likely numbered. If not, this card could be heading to 20 or even higher. Let's move on now to Modern, where our biggest gainer of the week was Surgical Extraction, gaining 5 tickets from 38 all the way up to 43. See, I told you Magic Online wasn't dead yet. The thing about Surgical Extraction is that, well, it's very, very good in Modern right now, and it also hasn't been reprinted since Modern Masters 2015. Maybe a treasure chest drop rate will change at some point in the future and cause this card to tank, but in the meantime, it's still on its way up. It peaked at about the 50 ticket mark back in late September, and I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up back there again at some point in early January. Wasn't all winners this week though, we had some losers too, and our biggest Standard loser was Nicol Bolas the Ravager, dropping about a ticket and a half from 7.5 down to 6. That's really not a great place for this former 30 ticket mythic to be. By all metrics, Nicol Bolas the Ravager was one of the biggest financial disappointments of the entire year. But why is Nicol Bolas dropping in price again now when it hasn't been seeing much play in weeks? Well, that's probably because Core Set 2019 just passed the set redemption guarantee date, and some of the price was being propped up by people who wanted to cash their copies out into paper. In fact, even Vivian Reed dropped in price a little this week, and she's one of the key finishers in Golgari mid-range. So it's safe to say that these Core Set 2019 drops, they're not big, but they are significant, or not due to the overall playability or demand of the card in Standard. It is more to do with whether or not you can cash them out. In fact, I actually think that Nicol Bolas could end up being a really good buy at some point over the next couple of weeks. I'm not buying yet because it doesn't appear to have hit bottom yet, but I'm definitely paying close attention to that chart so that I can buy in when it does. And a lot of that has to do with a new card out of Ravnica Allegiance called Bedevil. Bedevil is a very strong removal spell, it's in Rakdos colors, and it may be enough to push Control back toward Grixis as opposed to Jeskai or Esper. If that happens, Nicol Bolas would be one of the biggest financial beneficiaries, so definitely pay close attention to this one going forward. Now, over in Modern, our 2 biggest losers of the week were a couple of Ultimate Masters staples. I'm talking about Noble Hierarch and Gadok Teeg, both of which lost about a ticket and a half this week. Noble Hierarch is down to just 10, and Gadok Teeg is hovering just below the 3 ticket mark. Now, while Gadok Teeg doesn't see play in the quantities I'd like for a rebound anytime soon, Noble Hierarch is about as close as it gets to a top tier Modern staple. And I really think that people are overestimating the number of available copies that are entering the marketplace on Magic Online due to Ultimate Masters. I mean, how many people are playing this limited format right now? It's expensive, it's not very good, and there's Vintage Cube out there. So if we're overestimating the number of nobles entering the marketplace, we're probably overestimating its chances of staying low as well. I honestly think that Noble Hierarch is going to end up being a 20-ticket card again at some point during the first half of 2019. The sneak of the week this week is from Guilds of Ravnica. It's Pelt Collector, that one drop that peaked around 4 tickets back when it was released and dropped off precipitously since then, bottoming out around 0.2 tickets a copy. But if you haven't been paying attention, Pelt Collector has actually tripled in price over the past couple of days. It's now up to a whopping 0.7 tickets each. But I don't think it's done growing. It looks like it's going to play absurdly well with the new Simic stuff that was previewed, and it looks like it might be a key 1-drop in Gruul aggro as well. If both of those things happen, we're looking at a 5 to 6 ticket card at least, so grab your copies now. Let's end the week by taking a look at the MTGO Trader's sales data over the past 7 days. And as always, this gives us a great idea of what is actually selling versus what's going up and what's going down, and especially after the crash, knowing what is actually selling seems particularly valuable to me. Looking at overall sales by volume, one really interesting thing is that the number of event tickets being sold seems higher than average. And I expect that is because of the Holiday Cube. Late December, of course, is Vintage Cube time. People are buying tickets to fire it up, and people who don't even play a lot of MTGO normally want to get their hands on that good power. Other than that, it's still sort of the same list of eternal staples we've been seeing for a couple of weeks now near the top of this list. It's cards like Lightning Bolt and Faithless Looting and the Ravnica Shocklands that are doing really well. There weren't really a lot of changes in overall sales by price either. Surgical Extraction was number 2 on our list last week, and it's up to number 1 now. But we do have a little bit of a surprise at the number 2 slot. It's Horizon Canopy, a card that didn't even chart last week, and it is doing really well. Now, as I'm sure you're aware, Horizon Canopy is one of the most popular cards in multiple Modern decks. It was as high as 80 tickets back in September, and it's down below 40 now. I wouldn't be surprised if Horizon Canopy ends up being one of the biggest gainers over the next couple of weeks and ends up back around that 60 ticket mark again at some point soon. If you've been holding off on buying these, I'd say that now is the time. And that's all I got for you this week. Thank you so much for watching the video. Have a really happy holidays. My name is Chaz Andres, and I will see you next Monday morning on New Year's Eve for yet another edition of This Week in Magic Online Finance.